On December 31st, 2019, the China office of the World Health Organization reported that there was a collection of pneumonia cases in the city of Wuhan of the Hubei province of mainland China. At the time, the world outside of China had no idea what was coming for them because December 31st is about a month after the outbreak of the virus in the country. Because all the time that elapsed before the knowledge of the virus was reported to the World Health Organization, the spread of the virus was unable to be contained. The inability to contain the virus, as well as the lack of knowledge, has caused what started out as an illness from a small market in Wuhan to become the worldwide pandemic COVID-19 that will be talked about in history books for generations to come. Early on, the spread of the novel coronavirus COVID-19 was centralized in three main locations: mainland China in the Hubei province, Iran, and northern Italy. Other places, such as South Korea and multiple cruise liners, contracted many cases of the virus early on as well. Many cruise ships had to stay out in the water for an extra 2 weeks to allow passengers to quarantine themselves before returning into society. The world has changed drastically over the few months that have followed to lead to where we are now. As of April 26, 2020, according to the Johns Hopkins University Coronavirus Resource Center, there are 7 countries with at least 100,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19. These countries are the United States, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Turkey. Some of this could be misleading, however, because the next 2 countries on the list in terms of confirmed cases, Iran and China, have both been questioned if they have given accurate data about their actual number of cases, with China not informing the World Health Organization in a timely manner about the virus, and the U.S. Department of State claiming that the Iranian regime is hiding a significant amount of information about the coronavirus outbreak. It is likely far worse than the regime is admitting. Even with the lack of transparency from the Iranian government, it has been verified as of April 2nd, 2020, that 33 government officials were confirmed to have contracted COVID-19, and 15 of them had died. One of the officials to test positive, Deputy Health Minister Iraj Hirashi, downplayed the extent of COVID-19 in a press conference where he appeared visibly ill on February 24th, before testing positive for COVID-19 the next day. Italy is a country which handled things much differently than Iran. Instead of hiding the truth of the dangers of COVID-19, Italy went into total countrywide lockdown on March 9th. This included the closure of all public events and places other than essential needs such as grocery stores, pharmacies, and healthcare facilities. People were told to stay home and only leave if it was to go to one of these essential places. Something similar to these restrictions started happening in the United States around 2 weeks later. The United States has been the country that has been hit hardest by COVID-19, by far. The U.S. officially jumped over 1 million cases as of late April, with no other country even at 250,000 cases. The U.S. has also had over 58,000 deaths, with Italy a distant second, just over 27,000. Statewide stay-at-home orders have gone into effect in 42 states as of April 20th, and 3 more states have stay-at-home orders for part of the state. The government has also encouraged social distancing, which attempts to keep people over 6 feet apart when they are out of the house for essential goods or exercise. This means that across the country, everything ranging from schools, restaurants, shops, and even beaches have closed due to COVID-19. With all these closures, there are still plenty of people who are not taking the situation very seriously. People are still flocking to the beaches and not participating in social distancing when they're there. By doing this, they could be unknowingly spreading the virus around from one another, and then be bringing it home to their families and giving it to them. There are plenty of things people can do outside the house while still practicing social distancing. which can help people keep a steady head during the pandemic. Things such as walking, jogging, biking, or even more adventurous activities like kayaking are all things that can be done outside the house while still practicing social distancing. The practice of social distancing has proven to flatten the curve of the pandemic so far, so the practice should be continued during this or any possible future pandemics. With the curve flattening and the case numbers beginning to shrink, many states are on the cusp of reopening in the early parts of May. White House Coronavirus Task Force member Dr. Anthony Fauci claims, "When you pull back, there will be cases." This means that he believes by reopening, especially if it is too early, there will likely be a jump in cases of COVID-19 again. Of course, and if this happens, then we could be back in a situation where we might have to go back into quarantine. Looking back at when the United States first began to shut down due to COVID-19, it is easy to correlate the timelines with the world of sports. The sports world began to shut down on March 11th when NBA suspended its season until further notice after Utah Jazz All-Star center Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID-19. In the days that followed, every single major sports league or organization began canceling or suspending play for the near future. It was 8 days later, on March 19th, that California became the first state to implement a stay-at-home order. When we jump back to late April and early May, states are starting to formulate ideas when and how to lift restrictions and reopen. The timeline matches the sports world again. As of May 1st, 2020, 2 sports organizations have officially announced when they will be returning to play. NASCAR on May 17th in Darlington, South Carolina, and the PGA Tour on June 11th in Fort Worth, Texas. When looking at both sports, you begin to realize that they both have easy ways of practicing social distancing while competing. The sports world is trying to open back up for entertainment purposes, but also to begin to generate revenue again. Many states are also trying to reopen so they can get their economies back on track. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster announced that restaurants are back open for outdoor dining as of May 4th, as part of lifting the state's stay-at-home order the same day. All this coming after a week where South Carolina reported a 63% increase in deaths from COVID-19, according to the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. The outbreak of COVID-19 has created an unexpected stop to societies across the world in the first few months of the decade. From countries being completely shut down to others reportedly lying about the severity of the disease to its residents, times are unprecedented for humanity and will continue to be so for the near future. Keeping a positive mindset and following worldwide safety regulations will allow for the world to begin to trend back to normal soon, and we can go back to living a more normal life, which many people took for granted.